All right, so what we're gonna do is we've started our mail merge. We've selected that we're doing labels. You can see it's got a little gray box around it to say we're doing labels. We have our template in here. And if you recall, the next step in the mail merge after you choose which document you're applying to is to select recipients. So we're gonna select recipients and we have a list available to us. So we're gonna use an existing list. These were the three options you had when you were in the wizard, same thing, but we're gonna just choose use an existing list because you've got that Excel spreadsheet. We're then going to go into our files here and we're going to grab that mailing addresses spreadsheet and click open. It's going to ask us what sheet we want to pick and it's called data, and our first row does contain column headers because they have like first name, last name, email address, street address, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to click OK. When you do that, if you've set labels and you've selected your recipients, so if you started your mail merge, you've set your labels and you selected recipients, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to pop in a field called next record. What do you think that next record field does? Like, what is this? Why all of a sudden does it say next record on every single label except for the first one? Well, if you think about it, I want the first person to show up in this label. And then in the next label, I don't want the same person over and over again. I want to go to the next person. So when we look at a spreadsheet and we look at these mailing addresses, this row 2 is called a record. The next row, row 3, is another record. So what we wanted to do is first put Mr. Huberto, and then we wanted to go to the next record of Dale Trevor, and then to the next record of Brukent, and keep going down each time. Because unlike a letter where like the whole page is to one person, we have one page where we want to print 30 people on it. So we wanted to go to the next record on each one, except for the first one, because we wanted to print the first person. So what this is actually called is a rule. It's a mail merge rule to say, hey, in this cell, I want you to pop to the next record and then produce all the information. So that's important to remember. The next thing I want to show you is how we can actually get people in here. So we move from left to right. So the second you select recipients, you can see all the other options have become available. We could edit the recipient list, which we've seen before, where you can like uncheck people to exclude them. You can go into the data source and edit things. All of those pieces are available to you and should be familiar. The next thing you have is to write and insert fields. So clicking in this first label, we want to put the person's first name, last name, and their address. Now, we can go to insert merge field and we can select these by hand. So we could go like first name, then put a space. So there's a space between their first name and their last name, hit enter, then put their street address, hit enter, then put their city, type a comma, put a space, put state, and then type a space and put zip code. Or instead of any of those fields, I can delete all of them and I can use an address block, which we know an address block is going to be able to put in all that information for us and we can control it. So if I click address block, you can see by default, it's going to have the person's name, their street address, their city, their state, and their zip code. And if I wanted to, I could scroll through here and adjust how that looks with the naming of the person. In addition, what I want to point out is there is an option called match fields. So let's say, for instance, your state wasn't showing up. You can match fields and say the state is equal to the state in the Excel spreadsheet. So when you have these things, if it didn't figure out which one is which, you can match them up for them. But once you have that and you know which one you want, you can click OK and it'll insert the address block. Moving left to right, we can then hit preview results and we'll see the person that is first. However, we're not seeing anyone else. So it's time to fix that.